Hello and welcome back to the European Science Education Academy video tutorial on how to prepare a successful KA1 staff mobility for school education staff application under the Erasmus Plus program. Let's get started. Let me explain to you what I'm trying to explain to you here in this session. This is session 2 out of in total 4 sessions that we have been preparing for you, or that we will be preparing for you. And in this video session, which we will split into 3 different parts, I would like to discuss with you what you should be doing, what you should be discussing with your colleagues, with your school, before you actually start writing the applications. There are a number of issues that should be discussed, clarified and agreed upon before you actually go through the process of writing down writing down all the sections of the application form, and before submitting obviously an application. There are some administrative hurdles to climb, not very difficult, but I will guide you through the process in part 2 of this video tutorial. And last but not least, I will give you a brief introduction into the application form, the e-form, which is an interactive PDF file which has its, let's say, advantages and disadvantages, and I will just briefly introduce to you to the structure so you know what to expect. And when you do the planning of your project proposal, you can already start taking all these different aspects into account. And I will, in part 3, also explain to you what little work you need to do under section A, B and C of the application form. In sessions 1 and 3 and 4, you can see here on this slide the topics that have been discussed. So in the previous video tutorial that is already uploaded and circulated, I gave a quick Erasmus Plus overview. You know, what is the program, what is it all about, what are key actions, who is eligible to participate, who can apply, and so on and so forth. In the second part, I was focusing a little bit more on the aspect of school education, explaining the deadlines, very important this year. It's the 2nd of February 2017 to submit the application. And in the next session that I will prepare, which again will be split into different parts, I will guide you through the step of actually completing the application form and all the descriptive sections. And early next year I will help you, I will show you how to fill in the budget lines. It's not that complicated, but it requires some knowledge of the e-form, and together I will make some examples and we will fill in the budget, and you can see how easy it is actually to do this. And of course, in the second part of the session 4, we will submit, or we will have this application ready to submit, and I will guide you through the last sections. Again, it's a bit of an administrative detail, but nonetheless very important in order to have a successful application, because if you are not doing this correctly, your proposal will be dismissed. So, now, again, quick recap, 3 parts today. What you should do before you start writing the application, what you should discuss, how to register your organization, and a brief intro into the application form. Let's start with what you should do before you start writing your application. Now, it is very important if you are a teacher in your school that would really like for the school to submit a KA1 application in order to attend training courses abroad, to get the support of the school administration and especially of the headmaster, or whoever is the legally responsible person that can sign documents on behalf of your organization or your school, and that has the power to decide if a school would like to participate in such an action. But it's not only the legal reason, the signature reason why you need to have the support of the school administration. In this year, or in the Erasmus Plus program, and that's one of the main difference to the lifelong learning program, no individual teachers can apply for funding. It has to be the school organization. It has to be the school or the organization as a whole that applies for funding. This is an aspect I will stress many times over in this presentation or also in the forthcoming ones, because this is also a very important aspect when designing the project, when writing the project, that you shouldn't only submit an application because you have a personal interest. You need to show that the school as a whole entity, that your organization as a whole will benefit from the activities. So the best would be to find colleagues that are also interested in improving your teaching and learning new aspects of teaching. And commonly together maybe approach the school administration and present the idea and to form a project team which will commonly write the application and then also implement the project. Now, the writing of the project application might seem at some point as a daunting task, very difficult, very complicated. It really is not. It really is not. It looks always more complicated than it is. I always say it's not rocket science. It's really possible to do it. But yes, if you haven't done it before, it requires for the first time a little bit more effort, a little bit more thought, and a little bit more patience to understand the different aspects of this application than when you have already experience. And if you are a project team, it will of course be much easier to maybe allocate some task for the one to take care more of the school profile, for the other to write a section about dissemination. So it will always be helpful to have colleagues that will support your efforts. Nonetheless, it will always be good to have some person that is actually driving this, that is, basically the project manager of your team, that, stays in control of the work that needs to be done. The next step would be then to really discuss with the school, with your headmaster, with your school administration, what are really the areas that you are interested in for professional development. We, from the European Science Education Academy, obviously are offering courses that are focusing on modernizing science education. So if you feel that your science education is good already, but there are exciting new tools that you would like to integrate into your teaching, online available tools, online labs, remote labs, if you would like to learn more about inquiry-based science education, if you want to learn how to include the big ideas of science, to have intercurricular activities, multidisciplinary activities, together teaching science and other aspects. If you would like to include this into your school education, then this would be a good starting point to discuss with your colleagues which are the areas you really would like to get new competences and skills. Because this will be the main argument that will be mentioned many times over in the application. Since not all of your colleagues will be able to go on training activities abroad, if you are a school of with 50 teachers and maybe with 20 science teachers, not all 20 science teachers will be able to go abroad, usually, unless you have a very compelling application. It's also an aspect I will go into detail later, but the idea for the European Commission is not to allow all teachers to travel abroad to receive training, but to have a core that will get the new skills and competences and then transmit and pass on those things that they have learned to their colleagues. So at some point you will have to make a decision who actually gets to go on the staff mobility. And it is a good time to start thinking about how you will choose those teachers that will benefit, that will have the chance to go maybe to an exotic training place, in order to avoid conflicts, to start early. Who should go? How you will choose? What criteria will you apply for this? If somebody, of course, has worked a lot for this application, there should be maybe some provisions that these people should also benefit from it. If somebody has not contributed at all to the development of an application, it would be unfair towards those that have helped to actually reward him. So in order to avoid these conflicts among your colleagues, it's good to already start thinking about the criteria and how you will select those people benefiting from if the application was successful from the training activities. But also you should already start thinking about how once those 2-3 teachers maybe have attended the summer course and they have learned so many things, how will you organize within your school workshops or other means to train the other science teachers or the other teachers about what you have learned? So, because also this is an important part of the application, the impact and how you will follow up on the training. Because again, I would like to stress, the Commission is expecting an institutional approach to this application. It's not to benefit only some individuals, but the school as a whole should benefit. The school, the wider community, maybe even the parents, beyond the teachers, the staff and the students. How will you ensure that whatever has been learned is being also transferred to others? Start thinking about this now. Discuss these ideas with your colleagues. Some administrative aspects should maybe also be discussed already. For example, who will manage the funds? You will get some funding. Maybe you need to open up a special bank account. Who should be in charge of managing these funds? There will be travel costs, there will be subsistence costs, and you will not receive as a pre-financing the full 100% of the funding, but you will usually 70 to 80% you will get at the beginning of the project, and you will get the remaining 20% when the project ends. So there might also be a time where the school or the participants will have to cover some of their own costs until the final installment comes. Just keep it in mind. Don't be surprised that there might be a small lag. Another important aspect is to start thinking, when are you going to go to the training events? The earliest the project can start is the 1st of June. In the coming year, 2017. So this is when you will receive the pre-financing. But you should also take into consideration, when are holidays? Can you do it within the holidays? Are you willing to do it in the holidays? Is there a vacation period? Are there state holidays? And so on. So all of this should be considered when you are starting to plan your activities. A great way would already be to start looking for courses that are interesting you. And I will now actually show you a great website that has a course catalog, which is promoted also by the Erasmus Plus program, and where you can find many interesting courses. And the School Education Gateway is the platform where courses are being presented.